On May 20th, 2013, second grader Aria Vargyas was headed off to school at Briarwood Elementary in Moore, Oklahoma.
Leading up to that, it was a normal day. It was sunny. It was hot.
At 2:40 p.m., a tornado warning was issued for Moore.
And that's when I would realize things were getting serious, because now they're moving us to the bathrooms. They're giving us textbooks to put on our head.
You know, it's just a dangerous tornado heading right into Moore, so you need to be taking cover.
What happened next changed Aria's life forever.
It was just dead silence until the wind, and you could hear just the roar of the tornado.
Very hard day, a tragic day of tremendous disaster that has hit this community of Moore.
I blacked out during part of it, so all I really remember is insulation getting in my mouth and then straight black. And then when I woke up, I was being pulled out.
Got to Briarwood, and when we pulled up there, it literally looked like a bomb had gone off.
It just is heartbreaking to know that there were parents that didn't know if their children were still alive.
24 people lost their lives that day, including Aria's two sisters.
Sydney, she was found after by my mom. Karina was not found for at least 2 days after the tornado.
In the years that followed, Aria became infatuated with weather.
So it was a love-hate relationship for a good amount until it turned into full-on love.
A love that is turning into a career. From tornado victim to meteorology student, today we are going off the radar to hear Aria's story of terror, heartbreak, and resilience.
Wherever the weather's at, I'm gonna try to be.
I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie, and you're listening to Off the Radar, a production of the National Weather Desk. On the show, we dig deep into topics about weather, climate, the ocean, space, and much more. Our goal is to help you better understand the weather and to love it as much as we do. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Off the Radar. Today's episode is all about one remarkable young woman. Aria Vargyas was just 8 years old when an EF5 tornado tore through her hometown of Moore, Oklahoma. At one point, the tornado was about a mile wide. It was on the ground for 40 minutes and tore a 17-mile path through the heart of Moore, impacting 2 schools. Aria was in one of those schools, and she's going to join me today to tell her story. But Aria's story is still unfolding. She's turning the tables on severe weather, and she's on track to become a meteorologist. Here's my talk with Aria Vargyas. You grew up in Oklahoma, correct?
I did. I lived in Oklahoma for majority of my life, from about 5 years old all the way till I moved out for college.
Okay, so tell me about who you were living with. Tell me about your family in 2013.
So in 2013, I was 8 years old. My brother was 11 at the time. He was 6th grade while I was 2nd grade. And then my 2 younger sisters, Karina was the first one. She was 4 years old by 2013. And Sydney was only 7 months old by 2013. So it was just all of us. And then my mom and dad, of course. And my grandma was in and out living with us. At the time of the tornado, she was living with us. But after that, she had moved back home to California. Leading up to the tornado, we didn't expect it. So we were, making memories. We had birthdays. My birthday was before the tornado. My mom's and my dad's was. So we were celebrating those. My sister's was coming up, so we didn't get to celebrate that. But it was just it was childhood. I was watching shows, going to school, doing the normal routine and all that. And then May came around, and I'm excited because school's about to end. I'm like, yes, let's get out. 2nd grade. My brother's excited because he's now going into junior high. And then unfortunately, May 20th came, and that was like, oh, okay, never mind. School's over now.
So before that, had you experienced any other tornadoes?
Back in 2011, there was a tornado in Oklahoma, and maybe more, I don't know. It was down the street to where my parents put me and my siblings in our bathtub, which was our tornado shelter at the time. So they put us in our bathtub and had us stay there while my parents were actually outside taking pictures and recording that tornado that popped up. So I didn't get to experience it, but I know that was the only time anything happened where I needed to actually be in the shelter prior.
Okay, so on May 20th of 2013, you were in school at the time. What was going on at school?
Leading up to that, it was a normal day. It was sunny. It was hot. We had our school meeting where we all go into the gym and we talk about upcoming events or any other announcements. And that was where I had gotten a medal for being second place in a club that we had. So that was one big memory I have from there. I'm over here jumping up and down, excited. I worked all day, and the rest of the day just really went by. It was school. So I was just, learning what a second grader would. And then at some point, the intercom came on and they were like, okay, let's get into our tornado precautions. And I was like, okay, that this has happened before. We've had drills. And so we went into our drill location. But then maybe 5 minutes later, they were like, oh, okay, let's move to a different location. And that's when I would realize things were getting serious, because now they're moving us to the bathrooms. They're giving us textbooks to put on our head. My teacher had grabbed a flashlight and started singing to us so we could calm ourselves down. And this is where I was thinking, and I didn't realize it was a tornado till it happened. But I was thinking, I was like, what's going on? Like, this is not normal. The lights are off. Everyone's really quiet. There's people crying. Kids were getting pulled out prior to the storm actually hitting. So it just was all chaotic until the storm had passed. At that point, it was just dead silence until the wind, and you could hear just the roar of the tornado, honestly. And I I blacked out during part of it. So all I really remember is insulation getting in my mouth and then straight black. And then when I woke up, I was being pulled out and I had one shoe on, one shoe was gone, didn't know where that had went. And I'm just being carried, don't know where. And at some point, I would probably say maybe 10 minutes later, I had found my brother. And so then we were like, oh, okay, like, hi, like we found each other. But I said to him, I was like, my legs are broken. Even though I was walking perfectly fine, I thought my legs were broken. I couldn't feel them. There was no blood rushing to them. And so I was just like, we need to go to the ambulance. We need to go to this ambulance. And keep in mind, I'm walking to the ambulance. And so they check me out. They say I'm fine. And then at that point, me and my brother just started walking down actually what was our street, but it was destroyed. You couldn't tell what it was. And so we just started walking down. We found one family friend and then just kept walking until we actually found my dad with a second family friend. And at that point, now we're with the parents. So we're kind of more trusting to where we're at, and we go clean up and all that stuff, get food, and then go to the hospital where my mom and grandma were actually at.
Was your mother and your grandmother hurt?
My mom, I know she was hurt. She had a wood chunk that was actually impaled into her thigh from the force of the storm. My grandma, I think she had a broken leg and a broken wrist. I know after the tornado, she was in a wheelchair, cast up and everything.
And then what happened to your sisters?
Sydney, she was found after by my mom. My mom told me this, but she was found. Karina was not found for at least 2 days after the tornado. My dad was out searching for her for that amount of time while we were all in the hospital just recovering.
At what point did you find out about your sisters?
It was day 3 in the hospital. I would just walk around the hospital acting like I owned the place because the nurses kind of gave us that reign. But at some point, midday, my brother and me got pulled out of my mom's room by my dad, and he knelt on one knee and he was like, hey, this has happened. Your sisters have passed away. And that was kind of at the point where it was shock, sadness, and all of that. And we just hugged for a bit, went back into the room with my mom, hugged her, kind of laid with her. And at that point, it was just grieving and staying with the family I had.
So after the storm, when were you able to go back to school?
So that school year had ended. I didn't go back till the 2014-2015 school year. But at that time, they had actually held classes from Briarwood at Emmaus Church. I didn't go there for 3rd grade. I went to Eastlake Elementary for 3rd grade. And then I went back to Briarwood for 4th through 6th once they rebuilt it. I told my parents I didn't want to go to Briarwood for 3rd grade. Everyone, like all my friends were going there. I didn't want to deal with them knowing what happened to me and all. It was more so I didn't want to hear the sorries, even though I know like that's all really someone can say. At that time, I was like, no, I don't want to. And so I didn't go back till 4th grade.
Did other people lose family members as well?
Weird thing is when I went to Eastlake, someone I met there, actually, he had lost his mom and his younger brother in the 7-Eleven that was destroyed. And then me and him, we became friends. And so it was really cool to connect with someone that went through a similar situation with me at that time. Like we could both kind of connect and everything. But none of my friends from Briarwood had lost anyone. If anything, their houses were a bit destroyed. But majority of the ones I know got taken out of school before the storm hit, actually.
Okay, so after the storm, I imagine this is traumatic. And so the next tornado warning, what is that like for you, or weather in general, the next rumble of thunder? What's your kind of feeling about weather at that point?
Well, for the first year after, it was foggy, so I can't say how that was. But after that, I was obsessed with storms, but scared of the ones that were close by. And it was just because I was stationary. I couldn't go anywhere besides the shelter we had in our new house. And I was just like anxious. But I also researched storms. I researched the top schools for meteorology. I drew tornadoes. So it was a love-hate relationship for a good amount until it turned into full-on love. But I did have to balance that out for maybe like the first 3 years. After that, it was straight love.
At that point, you were like, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Yes, that was. It was. Funny thing is, like 6th grade year, I was giving my dad packets of colleges I researched, and I was just like, hey, look at this college. Hey, look at this college. And he would then keep telling me like, this college isn't that good. They don't even have this program you want. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I then actually started looking into like what I needed and where I wanted to go by junior high. And then at that point I was set on OU. And I was like, this is where I'm going. And then freshman year, I switched to A&M and was set on that for the rest of the years. I didn't go anywhere else, didn't apply anywhere else. It was just A&M.
So any particular type of weather that you're super interested in?
I do want to storm chase. I want to chase tornadoes. I ultimately want to do anything severe weather. So that's why it's like storm chasing is my thing. Location wise, I don't know where I want to go because I know Tornado Alley itself is shifting. So I might go more east instead of staying in Texas or going back to Oklahoma. But it's just where the weather takes me. That's really what I'm saying is wherever the weather's at, I'm going to try to be.
Do you have any kind of like meteorologists that you look up to?
So many, actually. I grew up watching the Weather Channel with Jim Cantori, and then I watched Reed Timmer on there until he switched to streaming on YouTube, and I still watch him. I grew up watching News 9, so David Payne, all of that whole cast, especially during severe season, they were all my favorite. Lacey Swope, all of them. I didn't watch any other news stations. I only heard about them, but I did meet Damon Lane at KOC05, and he's really cool. I love him.
Awesome. How was freshman year? How did it go?
It was good and bad. It was definitely humbling. I will say that. I didn't understand how much I needed to actually push myself to survive freshman year, and now I did, but it was also barely. But socially, I flourished. I made so many friend groups, different classes, different personalities, all of that. And then I was going to the games and experiencing other things. I joined organizations. And so it was just, I made sure to put myself out there just so I could get the college experience. And that's why I love it. But the academics was just what was bringing it down. It was like, oh, I would love to go out, but I have a test coming out, so I can't. But it was the balance. Overall, I loved my freshman year. I went storm chasing with one of my organizations, actually. And so that was amazing. Love that day. I still think back to it. It just, the first semester was good. First year was good.
It gets better and worse. It gets harder, but more rewarding because you get to do the classes that you want to do. You don't have to take like calculus as much. You can take more weather stuff. So it does.
I can take all my atmospheric science courses, do labs, research. Yep. I can't wait for those days. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Have you made friends within like the department, or is there like an AMS club there?
There's two. We have what's called our TAMSCAMs, which is our overall meteorology org. And then we have TASK, and that's our storm chasing org. It's fun to have those connections.
Yeah. What's your hope when it comes to how you feel about weather in the future and your relationship with it? I've heard a lot of people over time, and I feel like I'm in the same way, where I've thought, okay, well, I'm scared of this. So instead of sitting here like a sitting duck, I'm going to chase this, or I'm going to be in charge of the situation. So I'm curious, like, where your relationship with weather is now and where you hope it goes in the future.
It's kind of the same of what you said, where I am scared of it, but that's only if I'm stationary. If I'm chasing, I'm in love with chasing. I'm not scared to do that. When I went chasing with my organization, I wasn't scared at all. I was actually jumping up and down like a kid in a candy store. So it was very, very exciting. But being stationary back home with my family, I'm like, storms, no. I'd rather actually go chase the storm that's coming to my family than stay in the house.
Well, you've taken control of the situation. Like, having control is very empowering, I can imagine. Any words of wisdom for people who have gone through a similar tragedy, as far as healing, as far as making something that was so awful into something that could be so great?
I would definitely say to find an outlet, whatever it might be. Mine was journaling. Mine was also listening to music. I had multiple different outlets. I know some don't work for others, but if it just involves talking to someone, I tell people that if you can't talk to anyone, talk to yourself in the mirror, talk to a wall, just get it verbally out of your system to then actually be able to heal. Because if you keep it bottled in, it's not going to help you. You're going to keep crumbling little by little. And I learned that the hard way. And that's why I say, like, just let it out. If you need to scream it, talk to a ghost. Like, I don't care. It's just let it out. Find an outlet. That's my words of wisdom.
Do you think that you would be on this path towards becoming a meteorologist if you didn't go through what you went through?
Honestly, no. I would love to think I would choose this path without that tornado, but I definitely think that's what got it in my head so young and kept it there. If I didn't have that, I don't know where I would be, honestly. I don't even know if I would be in college. So
is there anything else you want to share, Aria, about your experience or about weather or about meteorologists?
One thing. When storm chasing, I'm sorry. The bugs, no. The bugs and storm chasing. I saw a tarantula when I went storm chasing. For the very first time I actually was out chasing, I almost stepped on a tarantula.
That's the first. I haven't heard this one yet. Bugs, huh? Not scared of the tornado, but the spider is going to do it for you.
Yes. No, I will run from a tarantula, but not a tornado. Pretty much, yes.
Oh, Aria, thank you so much for sharing your story today. I know it's difficult to relive, but it's such an inspiration to people. And meteorologists, of course, love to hear, and I especially love to hear about another woman entering the field. So I'm grateful to you for choosing this path and for talking to me today.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Off the Radar is a production of the National Weather Desk. Make sure you're following the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. New episodes published every Tuesday. If you like today's episode, please share it with a friend. We'd also love you to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Let us know what you think of the show and give me ideas for future episodes. A huge thanks to Aria Vargyas for joining me on the show today and for sharing her story. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie. Make it a great day.